Okay, so generative AI in higher education. People keep talking about killer robots, but this is about how we learn, what we teach, and how we even think about getting ready for, honestly, a future we can barely imagine. And we've got research from all over the place, faculty who are dealing with this right now, even like whispers from student dorms.
Yeah, it's not just about catching a few kids using ChatGPT.
Right, exactly.
This is like a fundamental shift.
Yeah.
We've got this one study, surveyed over 1,000 U.S. university faculty and administrators, and their reactions are all over the map.
Oh, I bet.
Some are terrified AI is going to turn everyone into zombies. Others are convinced it's the key to, like, unlocking some hidden brain power we didn't even know we had.
It's like we all suddenly got a superpower, but no one knows how to turn it on, right? Or worse, what it even does. But we actually found this case study about English writing classes in Hong Kong talk about high-pressure environments.
These exams are brutal.
Intense. So this is playing out right now.
And the pressure cooker there is unbelievable. They have this no-loser mentality.
Yeah.
You either ace these exams or you're done. So AI comes in. You'd think it'd be cheating central, right? But it's way more nuanced.
Okay, so tell me students aren't just pasting essays into ChatGPT and calling it a day.
They're savvier than that. They're using AI to get feedback on their writing, tighten their arguments, even master grammar in a way that textbooks just can't compete with.
Wow. What about the teachers, though? Did they all just give up and go on sabbatical?
Surprisingly, no. They see the cheating potential, of course, but many are actually embracing AI as this sort of teaching assistant.
Interesting.
It can handle the tedious stuff like basic grammar checks, freeing them up for the good stuff, critical thinking, fostering creativity, those uniquely human skills. Everyone's suddenly worried AI will make obsolete.
So instead of battling the bots, it's more like teachers are teaming up with a superpowered editor.
Precisely. And this is crucial, it's not about replacing good teaching. This Hong Kong study also found that students often felt some AI feedback was too generic, even inaccurate sometimes.
Makes sense. It's not a human with experience, right?
Exactly. It's a tool, not a replacement. It actually reminds me of this other research we have on students in Indonesia using ChatGPT for language learning.
Ooh, language learning. I bet AI is a game changer for that.
It is. But here's the thing, and this echoes what we saw in Hong Kong. Students loved it for quick translations or nailing down grammar rules. But they stressed using it alongside other methods. The human element can't be replicated. Like, sure, having a walking, talking dictionary is cool.
Yeah.
But it's not going to teach you the nuances of a language, the cultural context, the joy of actually conversing with someone.
Okay, so no robot teachers just yet. But this tech is evolving faster than a college student during finals week. If students are already this into AI, shouldn't universities be going all in, like yesterday?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. There's this fascinating study about how a university's culture actually affects how well they adopt new technology. And it turns out, just having the shiniest AI toys doesn't mean much.
Oh, really?
The universities that were most successful in integrating AI, they had this collaborative spirit, a willingness to experiment, and most importantly, they had support systems in place so faculty and students could navigate this new world together.
So it's less about, here's your AI teaching assistant, don't break it, and more about building a whole support system.
Exactly. It's about fostering an environment where faculty feel empowered to explore AI's potential, not threatened by it.
Yeah.
That means providing training, resources, and honestly, the space to learn from each other's successes. And let's be real, there are going to be some epic fails along the way.
Yeah, there are always going to be some bumps in the road with anything new. It's like we're building the plane while we're flying it, right? Which actually reminds me about those professors who had to suddenly teach online during the pandemic. Talk about a crash course.
Oh, absolutely.
We found this study on what that was like for them, and it's not just about, like, forgetting to unmute on Zoom or whatever.
It goes so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
Imagine that feeling of isolation, being completely overwhelmed, totally unprepared, plus you're missing that energy of a live classroom.
Oh, totally.
It's like trying to conduct a symphony orchestra through one of those old tin can telephones.
Right.
But anyway, that study really highlights how important it is to design online learning in a way that keeps students engaged and it helps them feel connected, like they're part of a community. You can't just try to replicate the experience of a lecture hall on a screen. We need to create something entirely new.
Okay, so how do we do that? Luckily, we've got a ton of research here on the role instructional design plays in making AI work in education.
And that's the key, right? AI isn't some magic wand you wave over your syllabus.
Yeah.
Just adding an AI chatbot to your course isn't going to magically make your students smarter or more engaged. It's about being really intentional about it. Think of it like, I don't know, architecture. You're using these AI tools to build a learning environment.
So it's about the blueprint, not just the bricks.
Exactly. And good instructional designers are grappling with these big questions like how can AI give students personalized feedback that actually helps them grow? How can we use it to design learning activities that are both challenging and engaging?
Yeah.
And maybe most importantly, how do we make sure that all of this is ethical, equitable, and benefits all learners?
Okay, that is a tall order. But are there any success stories? Give me some hope here.
Oh, absolutely. There are some seriously cool things happening. One study talked about using AI to create completely personalized learning paths for students, kind of like a GPS for education.
I love that.
And get this, AI can also analyze student data to pinpoint exactly where they're struggling and then offer super tailored support.
Wow, so AI could actually help level the playing field, make education more equitable. That's pretty amazing.
It has the potential, definitely.
But we do have to talk about the other side of that, right? How do we make sure AI doesn't actually make existing inequalities in education even worse?
That's the million-dollar question. We have to be so careful that AI doesn't just end up reinforcing biases or creating new barriers. And this isn't just a technology issue. This is about social justice. And it's why that study on Black women's experiences in online engineering programs is so important.
Absolutely.
They're already navigating a field where they're underrepresented. And their stories really highlight how crucial it is to create online spaces that are both technically sound and culturally responsive.
It's like we're building this bridge to the future of learning, but we need to make sure it's strong enough to carry everyone across. Which kind of brings me to a really big question. What skills do students actually need to thrive in this world where AI is everywhere? Because it's clearly about more than just knowing how to code, right?
You're telling me. We're talking about a whole new skills gap. Of course, being comfortable with technology is important, but that's almost a given now, right? What we really need are critical thinkers, creative problem solvers, people who can do what AI can't. And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay, you've got to tell me more.
So we found this study where they analyzed online discussion forums to see if there was a connection between the language students were using and their grades.
Interesting.
And get this, the students who were doing the best were the ones who naturally used more, and this is going to sound jargony, they used more metacognitive language in their posts.
Hold on, metacognitive language. That does sound a little sci-fi, I'm not going to lie.
I know, right? But it's really not that complicated. It just means being aware of your own thinking process. So like a student might say, I'm kind of stuck on this idea. Maybe I need to take a different approach.
So they're using their critical thinking skills without even realizing it, basically.
Exactly. But what about the students who don't naturally think that way? Can we teach them to do that?
That's a good question.
And researchers are trying to figure that out. There's a whole area of study on self-regulated learning interventions, which are basically strategies to help students become more aware of their own learning process.
Oh, interesting. So it's like giving students the tools to become their own learning coach, kind of.
Exactly. But what about the teachers themselves? They're not robots either. Do they need a whole new set of skills to navigate this AI-powered world?
Right. They're the ones who are supposed to be guiding us through all this.
I know. We actually talked to a bunch of very experienced online instructors and asked them that very question, what does it take to be a successful teacher in this new landscape? And as you might expect, they all said things like being good with technology, having strong communication skills, those are all important. But what they emphasized most was the importance of being flexible, being empathetic, and finding ways to create a sense of community in a virtual classroom.
So it's not about being a tech whiz, it's about being human.
Exactly. Technology can help us connect, but it's the human connection that really matters. And this is where it gets really cool. We found this study that looked at what actually makes online students feel like they belong. And it's not about just recreating social interactions in a digital space.
So we're not talking about like mandatory virtual pizza parties or anything.
No, not at all. While connecting with classmates is definitely a good thing, this study found that students who felt academically challenged and supported by their instructors were much more likely to feel like they belonged.
Interesting.
It's about feeling like you're part of a learning community where people are pushing you to grow and supporting you every step of the way.
Right. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
But this makes me think about those massive open online courses, the MOOCs, with thousands of students from all over the world.
I know, right?
How do you even begin to cultivate that sense of community in a digital classroom that huge and diverse? It just seems impossible.
You'd think so, right? But there's this fascinating study about how adolescent students in Nepal are using MOOCs.
Okay.
And we're talking about students in a country where internet access can be a real challenge. They're using MOOCs to learn everything from coding to, get this, COVID-19 prevention.
Wow, that's incredible.
It is. And what's really amazing is that they're finding ways to support each other and actually build a sense of community, even with all these limitations.
That's amazing. So they're proving that even across continents and time zones, we really can connect and learn from each other.
Absolutely. And here's the really cool part. This study found that local communities played a huge role in supporting MOOC learning too. Teachers, families, even friends, they were all rallying around these students. It really shows that online learning doesn't have to be isolating. It's about understanding that technology is just one part of a much larger learning ecosystem.
So it's about finding ways to connect, both online and offline.
Exactly. It's about bringing those worlds together.
So let's get practical here for a second. What can instructors do, like today, to make online learning more engaging and supportive for their students?
Well, we actually have a study that asked community college students that very question, what did their instructors do that made a real difference in their online learning experience? And their answers were surprisingly straightforward.
Okay, I'm ready for the inside scoop.
They highlighted simple but really powerful things like instructors responding to their questions quickly, providing regular feedback that was personalized, using their names, even just checking in on their well-being, basically doing the things that showed them that their instructors cared about their success and saw them as a real person, not just a name on a screen.
It's amazing how much a little human connection can mean, especially in a digital world that can feel so impersonal.
It really is. And it reminds us that even though technology is transforming education, the human element is as important as ever.
It sounds like what makes a good online teacher is really what makes any good teacher, online or not. Being present, being supportive, showing you care.
Right, exactly. And that actually circles back to that study we talked about earlier about how faculty view AI.
Oh, right. The one where some professors were afraid AI would take their jobs and others wanted to replace their students with robots.
Well, not quite replace them.
You know what I mean?
But you're right. The really interesting thing was how much a university's culture seemed to influence their professors' attitudes.
So if a school is more forward-thinking and open to new ideas, professors are more likely to give AI a shot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In those environments where people are encouraged to experiment and collaborate, faculty were much more likely to see AI as something that could actually enhance their teaching, not threaten it. It shows how important it is to have good leadership, you know?
Yeah.
It's not enough to just hand out laptops and say, okay, everyone go learn AI now. You have to create a culture where people feel supported and empowered to figure this stuff out.
For sure. But let's be real, not everyone is going to be excited about AI, right? I bet there are professors out there who are still grading papers with like a magnifying glass and a quill pen.
Oh, I'm sure there are a few. And this is where those experiences from the pandemic, when everyone had to go online so quickly, are really relevant.
Oh, right, because a lot of those professors felt really overwhelmed and unprepared to teach online.
Exactly. So as we start integrating AI into education, we can't just forget about those experiences. We need to make sure we're providing faculty with the same level of support and training we expect them to give their students. Meet them where they are, address their concerns, show them how AI can actually make their lives easier, not harder.
It's like saying, look, we're not trying to replace you with a robot, but this robot can totally handle grading those multiple choice quizzes so you can focus on the stuff that actually requires a human touch.
Exactly. And speaking of concerns, we can't talk about AI in education without addressing the big one, academic integrity.
Yes, the fear that AI will basically turn every classroom into, like, a giant cheating ring.
It's a valid concern for sure, and universities are definitely taking it seriously. But what's interesting is that AI can also be a powerful tool for actually promoting academic integrity.
Wait, really? I thought AI just made it easier to cheat.
It can if it's misused. But think about it this way. We can use AI to create more authentic assessments, the kind that a chatbot can't just spit out an answer for. We can use it to help detect plagiarism and even teach students about the ethical implications of using AI.
So instead of being the villain, AI can be the superhero sidekick, helping us create a more honest and ethical learning environment.
Exactly. It all comes back to intentionality, right?
Oh,
Using these powerful tools in a responsible way. We've covered so much today, everything from cheating scandals to the importance of human connection, from classrooms in Hong Kong to students in Nepal. It's clear that AI is already transforming the way we think about education, and its impact is only going to grow in the years to come.
I know, it's pretty mind-blowing. It's both exciting and a little terrifying at the same time. But knowing what we know now, where do we go from here? What does all of this mean for the future of learning?
That is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? No one has all the answers yet, but I think the research we talked about today gives us some clues. We're entering this world where learning can be personalized and tailored to individual students' needs in a way that just wasn't possible before.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But that also raises a really important question. If everyone is having these hyper-individualized learning experiences, how do we make sure that everyone still has that shared sense of understanding, that base of common knowledge that's so essential to a functioning society?
That's a really good question. It's like we're standing on the edge of a whole new world, but it's up to us to figure out how to make sure it's a world that works for everyone.
Absolutely. As we embrace all of the potential that AI has to offer, we also need to be thoughtful and proceed with caution. We need to ask the tough questions, think about the ethical implications of the choices we make, and most importantly, make sure these powerful tools are being used to create a more equitable and accessible learning experience for everyone.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground today, but one thing's for sure, this AI revolution is happening, whether we're ready for it or not. So, to our listeners out there, keep those critical thinking skills sharp. Don't be afraid to embrace the power of human connection. And as always,
Keep diving deep.